Hello and welcome to all of you. You're watching Tech24. I'm Julia Seeger. Now, recent elections, both in France and Portugal, have seen very low turnouts. But what if blockchain, decentralized voting, and online ballots could bring people back to the polls? And they look like glasses but sound like headphones. In Test24, we try Fauna, the Austrian startup that's marrying technology and design with its audio eyewear. Now, you've heard all about autonomous cars, but have you ever heard of autonomous bikes? An engineer who works for Huawei has developed a self-driving bicycle that can operate even if it's unmanned. It can stand on its own, and it brings together impressive features such as high-precision sensors, image recognition cameras, and AI technology. Now, several cities are looking into this zero-emission mobility solution. Monte Francis has this story.
This could be the future of bike travel. Fully autonomous, standing on its own without a kickstand, moving on two wheels without a rider. Behind this invention is a Chinese engineer. After a bad fall, Jiwei Peng was inspired to create a bike which would maintain balance and avoid obstacles, all on its own, using a camera and AI.
There are two large motors along with sensors and controls. There's an RGBD camera mounted on the handlebars and gyroscopes and radar. There's also a lithium battery that lasts between 2 and 3 hours.
Manufacturers are increasingly interested in these intelligent two-wheelers, and the technology is not limited to bicycles. This is a motorcycle developed in the south of France, and this is a scooter in England. For now, this kind of travel is in the testing phase, but it already has the keen interests of bike-sharing companies in large cities.
It's annoying for the companies to bring back the bikes at the end of the day from where they started. With the autonomous bikes, it could be possible for bikes to return all by themselves. So it makes it a lot more simple.
The potential market for the technology is huge. In 2020, 80 million trips were made using bike-sharing services in France alone.
Now, recent local elections in both France and Portugal were marred by record low turnout. But was it due to democratic deficit, to the pandemic, or to the widening divide between politicians and voters? Well, regardless of the reason why, many believe technology could actually help and serve as a tool against abstention. Could tokens, QR codes, or even online voting tick the right boxes and boost turnout? Well, let's find out more with our tech editor, Peter O'Brien. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Julia.
So first, let's talk about internet voting. Of course, it's back on the table for some politicians, but the idea is actually not that new for some countries.
Yeah, it seems to have stuck in Switzerland, at least, where several cantons have been voting online for years. And a new experiment actually carried out by the postal service Swiss Post is working with the Spanish startup Skittle to cryptographically shuffle votes to separate them from voters. Now, there have been some concerns over security, so Swiss Post is offering large bounties to anyone who can crack it in a test run. Over in France, in recent local elections, people abroad have been able to vote online. Now, this, of course, helps break through geographical and logistical barriers, but it's not really helped the turnout that much. Finally, in Norway, online voting was looking really promising about 8 years ago when around 200,000 people voted online as part of a test run. But since then, international meddling and hacking have come to the fore, and they're a big concern now, and online voting is more or less dead in the water in Norway.
That's right. Now, hacking is not the only problem when we talk about internet voting. There's also coercion.
Yeah, as you can imagine, it's a lot easier for someone to threaten you or bribe you if you're not alone casting your vote in the ballot booth at a polling station. Now, one interesting project working on how to get around this is Civitas, which is led by Cornell University, and its system makes the voter submit a credential along with their vote. The thing is, though, that this system won't send an error message if you submit the wrong credential. So you can always fool the person who's threatening you by submitting a fake credential along with your vote.
Now, several years ago, Tech24 was in Estonia to find out more about their e-voting system. There, 90% of all government services are actually digitized. So tell us more about that, and how are they coming about making sure that what happens in the ballot station actually stays secret?
Stays secret. Well, Estonia, as you said, is by far the biggest success when it comes to internet voting, or iVoting, as they call it there. Almost half of Estonians vote this way. Now, to get around this problem of avoiding votes that are forced or bought, what they do is have voters log on and vote, but as many times as they would like to in the voting period. That means that each vote cancels the last, and if you've been threatened to vote in one instance, well, you can always log on later before the deadline and vote again.
When you're alone.
Yes.
Thank you for that, Peter. Now, giving back power to citizens, this is what our next guest is aiming to do with his startup, Civic Power. It's the top civi-tech company in France, and it mixes blockchain and cloud services to push democracy even further. Well, let's welcome Christophe Cambord. He's the CEO. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for inviting me today.
So why is it important to bring blockchain into the democratic process, and how does your system help citizens take back power?
In fact, in 2021, if you want to have a nationwide digital voting system, you have the chance to have the blockchain technology proven by the Bitcoin system. So it's working. We know that it has been proven. So you have everything you need to make it happen.
Now, we understand why more transparency is key in order to win back voters' confidence, but can blockchain actually be hacked, and hence is the secrecy of polling stations threatened?
It's not such a question of blockchain rather than a question of remote voting. How can we be sure that the person who is voting is doing what she or he wants? So the question is more, what happens when you vote with your personal smartphone? And I think today that smartphone is enough a personal item to let you vote what you want, where you want, and when you want. In the past, when people only had personal PC and familial PC, everybody around the screen, it was not the case. But today, you do what you want with your smartphone, in fact. And blockchain will let you be able to be sure that nothing has been changed in your votes, and you can see what has been voted for yourself, preserving your anonymity.
Now, you're betting on open source and decentralized voting systems, so how are you planning on implementing it?
So open source let everybody in the world be able to verify what happened in the code and that everything is clear and clean. For the network part, I mean, the way millions of people being able to vote at the same time, the same day, we will create a network, sovereign, independent from state and GAFAs and GAFAM. And for that, we have organized a crowdfunding, a citizen crowdfunding to finance the system. So we are today independent. When I say we, it's the foundation is independent and has the technology to do that.
Now, Christophe, another aspect to disrupt here, of course, is tackling the cost of voting. It's about 3 to 7 euros per citizen in Europe, for instance. So you actually intend to reduce that cost to 2 euros per users. How so? So
it's evident that less physical manipulation and logistic is less cost because our system is 100% digital, so less cost. But today we think that the cost is not the first issue. When we have 87% of the young people, adults, who don't vote at the last election in France, of course, today what we do is costless and is not efficient. It's evident.
Thank you very much, Christophe Cambord, for speaking to us.
Thank you, Julia.
And moving on now to Test 24. Now, summer is here in the Northern Hemisphere, and the coolest way to listen to music could be through your sunglasses. I'm not kidding. I'm actually talking about audio eyewear. Bose made the first set and the frames back in 2019, and other brands are now following in its footsteps. The Austrian startup Fauna is one of them. I'm saying that summer is here in the Northern Hemisphere, but it's been raining for the past month in Paris. You actually look really smart with your Faunas, are they called?
Yes. I'll be honest, Julia, I can't hear a word you're saying because I've actually got music pumping out of these. You connect them via Bluetooth to your phone, just like a normal set of earphones. And if I bring it close to the microphone here, you should be able to hear the music coming out. Now, you adjust them, the volume, the track, all of that, just with some gestures on the side. There's touch touchpads on the side of the glasses, so you can use that to. But it's a little bit finicky. Like I'm struggling here to turn the music down, for instance. They have a microphone on them, so you can use them for calls if you want to. But you might look slightly strange just talking to yourself. What I really like, though, is the fact that you could be listening to these outdoors in nature, listening to your music or podcasts, but on public transport, it just gets too loud. You can't hear anything.
Right. Now, how do they compare to the frames by Bose?
Yeah, so the Bose frames obviously did it first, and I actually think these look more stylish. They certainly come in more colours and types of frame, but they've sacrificed the sound to achieve that. They're really... they're slightly tinny, and they're just much less layered than the Bose. Now, what I think is with the charging for both of them, it's easier for these because they come with this nice big case here. And this means you can whack them in here and they'll stay charged all day. Whereas for the Bose, they only last a few hours and you have to recharge them with an annoying cable.
Now, what about the audio bleed? I'm sure that people sitting next to you must hear what you're listening to.
Yeah, so the Fauna uses something called beamforming, where they try to redirect the audio waves towards your ears, but it doesn't work as well as the Bose, which use ANC noise cancelling, which emit opposite frequencies to what you're listening to really cut out the audio. For the Faunas, that just doesn't work quite as well, so you are going to annoy your neighbours.
Well, thank you very much, Peter, for that. It brings us to the end of this edition of Tech 24. See you very soon.